Today on CTV News at 5, the family of a murdered Vulcan man were told they could get compensation for his funeral, but are upset it's been denied. Plus, the man arrested in connection with a stabbing in a South Lethbridge alley faces charges in court. And there's mixed feelings about the new cross-border shopping rules that take effect today.
CTV News with Alicia Fieldberg.
Good afternoon. When a 77-year-old Vulcan senior was abducted and murdered 6 months ago, he was undoubtedly a victim of crime. But Otto Luce's family has been told they're not eligible for a Victims of Crime fund that would cover his funeral expenses. His daughter is outraged at the reason. Bridget Brown has the story.
This type of death is never over.
Levonda Justinic's life has been chaotic in the months since her father, Otto Bunty Luce, was murdered. She was relieved to learn she could apply to have his funeral costs covered by a provincial fund for victims of crime, but her application was rejected.
I received a letter from Victim Services in Edmonton that he was denied because of his criminal activity.
Otto Luce was abducted from his farm and murdered. 2 years before that tragic end, he was involved in a minor altercation with a neighbor and he was convicted of harassment, sentenced to 6 months probation. It's the only conviction on his record.
Shocking. Completely shocking. This man lived here, he's a farmer, he farmed for 60 years. He had the onsets of dementia, so his judgment was definitely not of the norm.
To Levonda, the decision is especially unjust because she believes her father's brush with the law made him a victim. He met his accused killer, Timmy Engel, in the remand center. Engel has been charged with Luce's murder, but has not been convicted.
A 77-year-old man was thrown in the remand center. Well, you're not going to find the nicest guys in there.
Meanwhile, Levonda is appealing the decision, and because of that, the province says it can't comment on the file. She has the support of her MLA.
No two same situations are the same all the time, so, I guess a more open and transparent process would be better for everyone, I think.
Levonda says the conviction happened in the first place because her father had dementia. Then both she and the police said his killer targeted him for financial gain, again exploiting his dementia.
If you think that this cannot happen to one of your family members, you better be thinking again, because it can.
For the Justinics, the cost of the funeral is a small price compared to all their family has lost. Bridget Brown, CTV News, Vulcan.
The standard rule for the Alberta Criminal Injuries Review Board is to deny claims for people who have been convicted of a crime within 60 months of their death. The Solicitor General's office tells CTV it is looking into the file, but it could be 12 to 18 months before the appeal on the matter is settled. The weekend is barely underway and RCMP have already responded to a pair of collisions outside of Lethbridge. The first collision happened 3 kilometers east of Lethbridge as police were holding a roadside check stop in the westbound lanes of Highway 3. A van driving on the other side of the divided highway slowed because of the check stop and was rear-ended by a car. Both vehicles ended up in the ditch and one of them crashed into a power pole and gas line. RCMP say none of the occupants were seriously injured. The second mishap was around 3 o'clock this afternoon at the intersection of Highway 23 and Highway 519 near Nobleford. Several people were treated at the scene, although it's believed the injuries were minor. RCMP are still investigating. A Lethbridge man faces several charges in relation to an assault in a Copperwood home. May 16th, a man returned to his home and was beaten by 2 men breaking in. 32-year-old Justin David Prasad of Lethbridge faces several charges. Police expect additional arrests soon. The man facing charges related to a Southside stabbing was back in court this morning. Lethbridge Regional Police were called to the 2500 block of 18th Avenue South Sunday afternoon. 22-year-old man had multiple stab wounds and was treated at Chinook Regional Hospital. Blood Tribe Police took 23-year-old Monty Justin Bigthroat into custody shortly after. He's now facing assault and weapons charges. He's been remanded by consent and will be back in court on June 6th. A Lethbridge woman facing fraud charges after allegedly stealing thousands of dollars from a 90-year-old man in her care also made a court appearance. Jacqueline Oler is accused of writing checks and making debit card transactions between February 2010 and the elderly man's death on July 1st. A prelim has been set for June 29th in Lethbridge Provincial Court. A man charged in connection with a bank robbery in Lethbridge earlier this week was also in court. 49-year-old Brady Elder is accused of robbing the Scotiabank in West Lethbridge on May 28th. A man fled the bank with an undisclosed amount of cash after telling employees he had a weapon. A truck that was seen leaving the bank was later involved in a minor collision in downtown Lethbridge. Elder was arrested at the scene and charged with robbery and impaired driving. He's also charged with stealing gas from a service station earlier on the same day. Elder said today he's in the process of finding a lawyer. He will remain in custody until his next court appearance June 8th. CP rail trains are expected to start running today after back-to-work legislation was cleared in the Senate yesterday. 160 local CP rail workers are among the 4,800 across the country who walked off the job last Wednesday. They say they're not happy with the legislation but will go back to their jobs. The dispute is now in the hands of a government-appointed arbitrator who will impose a deal on the two sides in 90 days if they can't come to an agreement. The company and union disagree on pensions, work hours, and health benefits. And Dory's in with the weather. So Dory, it's going to be windy and dry this weekend and then showers next week?
Yeah, except for a slight little change in the forecast. Actually, two forecast models are kind of conflicting with each other. One forecast model is saying tomorrow there is a chance of some precipitation in the morning and perhaps a late day thunder shower, but Sunday's still looking sunny and about 17 degrees for a high. But I'll tell you where the conflict arises, and I'll have other details coming up in a couple of minutes.
Thanks, Dory. People on their way to Castle Mountain yesterday saw something unexpected. What appeared to be a minor plane crash was in the middle of the road. The pilot made an emergency landing yesterday afternoon when the small plane he was flying ran out of fuel. Nobody was hurt, but the plane's propeller was trashed and the landing gear was torn off. Several hundred volunteers are heading to the Crow's Nest Pass and Castle Mountain areas this weekend. They're going to clean campsites, plant trees, repair trails, and remove garbage from forestry lands. This is the 18th year that members of the Castle Forest Stewardship Society have conducted the Cleanup and Stewardship Day. Members say the goal is to take care of precious public lands by doing projects to keep it healthy, sustainable, and beautiful. Organizers say their effort is paying off.
It's kind of neat over the years how the amount of garbage that we can pull out each year is getting to be less and less and less. So we are having an impact on the sustainability of the trails. People are starting to notice that the area is cleaner, and hopefully they're being a little more respectful of the area as well.
Anyone interested in helping out is asked to meet at the Blairmore Forestry office at 7:30 tomorrow morning. There's a free breakfast, then people will be organized into work parties. Last year, volunteers donated more than $100,000 in materials and sweat equity. Southern Albertans concerned about food safety are urged to check the Alberta Health Services website to get information on the latest inspections and ratings. Health officials say the number of people who check the inspection reports varies from month to month. New information is entered daily. Inspection results are uploaded automatically to the website when health inspectors enter their reports on the computer. In most cases, eating establishments are given warnings and an opportunity to correct any problem areas. A Lethbridge restaurant and its shareholders will be in court next month on 21 counts of contravening parts of the Public Health Act. Malu Restaurants, also known as the Mandarin, will return to court July 18th. Going through cancer treatment is difficult enough, but it can be even more stressful for patients and their families who have to travel. Now there's access to a low-cost accommodation for outpatients and their families who are coming from outside of Lethbridge to get treatment. People being treated at the Jack 80 Cancer Centre or Chinook Regional Hospital can now stay at the guest house in the Alberta Rose Lodge. Alberta Rose Lodge is an independent seniors residence operated by Green Acres Foundation in South Lethbridge. Rooms are available 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. The rate is $35 for single occupancy and $50 for a double room. There's also free parking and inexpensive meals in the lodge dining room.
They are in demand. We have people coming to do tests early in the morning. They come the night before and stay. People undergoing cancer treatment. They have to be here for such little time during the day, but for a few days on end. And so it's a good place for them to go.
The service is being offered through a partnership between the Chinook Regional Hospital Foundation and the Green Acres Foundation. The Galt Museum is excited to finally show off its brand new South Garden. The green space is near the remains of the original wall of the Galt Hospital. The garden is a public space for people to relax, play checkers, chess, or music. The project is nearly 2 years in the making, and museum officials are thrilled people can finally start enjoying it. Starting today, cross-border shoppers will be able to bring back up to 4 times as much without paying taxes. Consumers are excited, Canadian retailers, not so much. Ashley Rowe reports.
Really nice pockets, beautiful frame.
With summer just around the corner, it's time to freshen up the wardrobe.
Sundress.
Bathing suit, that kind
Bathing
of stuff?
suit, yeah.
And it's all about getting bang for your buck. So with the new cross-border shopping rules kicking in, more people than ever may find themselves heading to the U.S.
They have a better price point, and that's I shop for a living, and so I know that by fact is that you can't beat the prices over there.
Effective June 1st, you'll be able to come home with $200 of tax-exempt goods if you're in the United States for at least 24 hours, up from $50. Visiting for more than 48 hours allows you to bring back up to $800 worth of goods. Why do you think it's such good news?
Because I can bring back double.
Canadian retailers aren't so pleased.
This is bad news for retailers. We see this as a challenge to their profitability and their competitiveness.
David Wilkes with the Retail Council of Canada says retailers already face higher tariffs and fees from suppliers. So many products in Canada are double what they cost in the U.S. Independent retailers like Over the Rainbow are convinced business will suffer.
I think it's discouraging. I mean, on one hand, the government wants to encourage business in the country, and they're making it easier for people to shop across the border.
So they'll be relying on people like Leslie Cavanagh, who believes loyalty is where the buck stops. Ashley Rowe, CTV News.
And now let's take a look at the markets.